Welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I am Lisa Danforth, your host, and today I have the ever dynamic Donna Cravotta from Cravotta Media Group. Donna, I am so excited to bring you to the audience today and share your story.
I'm very happy to be here.
Today, we're going to be talking about how your story is the heart of your business and it supports us in getting out there and connecting with people. And I say, let's just jump right in and start sharing how our stories truly do support us in connecting and getting ourselves out there. Where do you want to start, Donna?
Um, let's start with why this story is important. And the story is important because that's what people engage with. They don't engage with sales. They don't engage
So true.
with, buy my stuff. They want to feel if you want to sell your stuff to people, they want to, the people on the other side of that want to feel like there's something common there, that you have a bond, that you have a shared experience. And the way to share those experiences are through sharing your stories. And when you become vulnerable and share parts that maybe you're a little uncomfortable sharing, those are really the best ones.
Yeah, and I will just say I have worked with Donna on multiple occasions, and she has such a skill for bringing out that story that you think isn't particularly interesting, or you're kind of keeping it quiet, and that has always been the most impactful piece, which is just it's so incredibly key. Can we talk a little bit about the mindset piece? Because I know a lot of people get tripped up in that mindset of sharing their story and being confident in sharing their story. How do you get people to kind of start teasing things out?
Well, one of the things that as entrepreneurs we all tend to do is we focus on what's next. We don't focus on what already happened. So I started this in my business years ago, having people provide a content audit for me. Like what were your blog posts? What interviews were you on? All of these different things, because what your story is what already happened, not what's going to happen with this launch that you're planning or this next shiny thing that you're going after, but it's what you've already done. And when you can build this story about the things that you've already experienced, they support you and take you to what comes next. But so often what we do is we just forget what we did and it's in the past and we don't even think about it. But when you start to pull these things together, and I have a questionnaire that I have refined over years because it's the same questionnaire I've used for probably 10 years with some tweaks, but it is designed to make you go back and do things you don't want to do, meaning like go back and look at your blog posts from 4 years ago, because the common thread, even if you have changes in your business and changes in things that you do and changes in technology, what doesn't change is who you are
Mm.
and what your mission is and what your passion is and why you do the work that you do. It's dressed up in different ways. But when you start to go through your old stuff, you reacquaint yourself with that common thread.
And it's so powerful. It truly grounds us. And I think for me and the people that I've experienced with this is that it helps us step into that authenticity, which is so very attractive, right? Really telling your story in a way that has people leaning in and asking questions and wanting to connect.
And what happens when people start to do this, they start to open up more and they start to get more vulnerable. And even though, and this is where, like, having somebody else help you with this is crucial. When you like rip off that band-aid of vulnerability, you need help to kind of tell that story, because you're on shaky ground there. You're not ready to share that. But if you have somebody that can kind of polish it up and present it in a way that makes sense to you, that vulnerability doesn't feel so scary anymore, because now you're starting to see your story through the eyes of somebody else, and that's how an audience is going to see it as well. So when you can start to see that, I think that is where, you become more confident, You become more willing to share things you might not have wanted to share in the past, whether it be that you're uncomfortable or you just don't think it's relevant. But when you see it brought to you in a different way,
Mhm.
it's like, ordering, going up to the buffet and filling your plate versus somebody artfully creating a dish for you
Mhm.
and putting it in front of you. It's the same, it's the same concept.
I always love a food analogy
Me
as a
too.
prior caterer. Now you talk vulnerability, I think, is so key, and Brene Brown talks about this a lot. She is a vulnerability expert, and you are also a certified Brene Brown facilitator or
I'm certified in her Dare to Lead methodology.
Dare to Lead, right? And there's a direct connection with leadership and vulnerability. I
Yes.
believe that it's just when we can, and that doesn't mean sharing absolutely everything.
No, no.
Can you talk a little bit about that with the leadership, the vulnerability, and how it helps us connect to not only our clients, but our team members, everyone around us in our community,
Ourselves.
ourselves? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty important.
Yeah. Well, as you start to feel more and more comfortable and confident in sharing parts of your story that you might not have shared before, people react to that and they in turn become more vulnerable and will share more with you. And from a leadership perspective, that's really important because even more so than with, clients or going out into the media, working with a team is really, it's like a family. It's really personal. So when you can kind of go to that next level of trust and that next level of just joining together, it changes everything. And that's how you get people to do a better job. They're heard, they're understood. They want to do a better job because they feel like they're contributing towards something that's bigger than they are. They're not just doing tasks on a list, they're part of something. And when you can kind of create this circle of vulnerability around whoever you're working with, it just up levels everything. And so much more could be achieved, so many more people could be helped. And, there's just more success and happiness and cohesiveness all around.
Win, 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 right?
Exactly, exactly. But, fear gets in the way and habits get in the way. And now I'm stepping into your realm here, but it's all connected. It's all connected because the work is inner work. And once
Mhm.
you grow from the inside out, it affects everybody around you. And when you can tie that into your story, that's what people see. That's what they feel, and
Mhm.
you want people to feel your story because when they feel it, there's a connection there. That's when people will remember you and they'll come back. It's not going to be because of a Facebook ad. It's going to be because you touched them in some way.
And that
And
confidence piece is
yeah,
foundational in all the work
it
that I
is.
do. One of the biggest struggles is trusting ourselves and being confident in our choices and our decisions. And let's admit, confidence is sexy, right?
Yeah.
We want to work with someone who's confident about who they are and how they're showing up and how they serve. Can you talk a bit about the confidence piece when we have those marketing assets that pulled together, the story assets pulled together? As a leader, so many of us want to get out and speak, but we don't feel like we have the confidence to apply to be on stage or even podcasts. Let's talk a little bit about that so people can understand when we have those assets in hand, it allows us to step forward and apply to be on stages and to create more impact and income when we have those assets in hand.
When your story is like on the dusty virtual shelves of a mess, it's overwhelming to even, pitch yourself to be on a podcast. How can you say to somebody, can you help me pitch something because I want to be on this show? And then you have nothing prepared. So this is where people hire the wrong people. They invest in things that they shouldn't invest in. Like, let's say you wanted to hire a PR agency to help you. Get your stuff in order before you hire that PR agency. Otherwise, you're going to pay them 3 times the amount of money to do that for you. So, by knowing what you have, knowing what your story is, having that clarity, of who you want to speak to, what you can do for them, and why it matters, that
Mhm.
is everything. Because then you can confidently stand up and say, "This is what I do. This is who I serve. This is the impact that I make, and this is how it impacts their lives. This is the transformation." But you can't say that when what you're looking at are 4 years of blog posts in no particular order.
Dusty, right? I know for me, I don't put myself out there. I'll go to apply for a speaking engagement or even a podcast, and it'll ask for all of these assets, and I will literally stop because I don't have them
You don't
gathered.
have them.
So not having my assets pulled in together, and especially with this beautiful speaker reel that you have created for me, I stop and I go and busy myself doing something else. And how do we lead? How do we be a leader to ourselves and to our community when we don't have the confidence to show up
Mhm.
and to share?
Well, on my website is a free download of it's a Gather Your Story guidebook, and it's really just checklists of all the things to go through to start to pull this stuff together. So you can go and get that. But really thinking back, and this is all it really is. It's a list of things to think back on what you've
Mhm.
already accomplished. What have you done? And for the most part, it's not that people don't want to share this information, they forget about it because they're on to the next thing, right? You're not thinking about a blog post you wrote 3 years ago, but I guarantee if you go and you look at your blog posts from 3 years ago, you're going to find something that is exactly what you're saying now, because all of those pieces brought you to where you are now. Everything that you've done
So true.
brought you to where you are now. So you can't throw all of that away.
Yet we do. And you touched on something that I talk about often, which is anchoring our wins, anchoring those things that we've done, because we can always pull up that emotion when we've screwed up, but we don't always anchor the wins so that we can lean into that when we're putting ourselves out there, when we're looking to gain visibility and
Mhm.
also impact. Like
Yeah.
that's the main thing that I really want to talk about here is the impact that we can make when we are putting ourselves out there in a confident way, but also in a very um, professional way. It's
Mhm.
clean, professional. Again, the impact, huge.
The impact is confidence and vulnerability. It's kind of where they meet. And those two things meeting together and having the pieces that make it easy for you to do that. Like I have been doing this work in my business for years, but I've recently redesigned it and I'm just focusing on creating these assets because I've never had a client in 16 years that has had what they needed. They just never had it. So I always had to scramble and, create the strategies and then build all of the assets because they had nothing. So what I've been seeing in the last couple of months that I've been doing this is that people are stepping up and doing things that they never would have done.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching for that podcast that they never would have thought that they could have gotten and getting it. I have one client she's researching speakers bureaus. She's been a speaker for years. She never would have done this, but she's ready. Um, she has taken all of the things that we created for her because we create everything in Canva and she's repurposed them. So her
Mm-hmm.
social media looks better. Her presentations are better. And she has this whole new level of confidence because of how she's showing up. And one of the things, I'll just stick with this one client, she's a virtual speaker because her husband has a health issue and due to COVID, she can't risk him getting sick. And she viewed that as a negative thing. She thought she would never be able to build her speaking business being solely a virtual speaker. And we built it into her story and we included why she is doing this. And the feedback that she's gotten about this has been incredible. So something that she viewed as a negative, now she's viewing as a positive. And like
She's
today,
leaning into it and using it to grow her
yes,
business and
today
grow
is her
her audience.
today is her 38th wedding anniversary. And now that like this part of her story that we highlighted, it was already there, but we highlighted this is now part of what they're celebrating in 38 years together.
Mhm. So I want to give a shout out to Helen Gain. Thank you so much for joining us today, Helen. Helen's dialing in from Las Vegas. She is a caterer in the industry, and she's been out there doing more speaking and whatnot. So Helen, I'm super excited that you've joined us. Helen is from Auntie Helen's Kitchen. Check her out if you're in Vegas. She's really good. But even just getting on video and starting to create those video assets like Helen is doing and starting to pull them together. I can even see Helen doing something within her catering business of here are the different offerings that we have, and just starting to compile them. It doesn't have to be video. It can literally be images that we're putting together in order to show what it is that we do and step out there and share it.
Yeah. And tell the story around those images. What happened? What did the room smell like? What were the textures of that experience that you're sharing? Like what items did you buy to create the recipe that you're making? Was there something you added that's new? So like what's the experience that you're having as you're creating this that you can share with your audience, because they can literally feel that. Like they can start to smell what the room smelled like from your description. They could taste what, the different flavors that you're mixing together. And you want them to have an experience. It's not just about a checklist of this is what I've done. And
Yeah. You're
it's
inviting them in to the
exactly,
kitchen. You're
them in.
inviting them
You're
in.
inviting
Yeah.
them into your world. And when they can be invited into your world and feel an alignment there, feel some kind of connection, this is when they come back. And in the digital world, the golden ticket is having people come back. Because if they don't come back after the first time they visit you, they almost never come back. But if you can get them to come back, that's where it starts to build. That's where the engagement happens. That's where you
That's where the
can go.
sustainability happens.
Yes, it becomes sustainable because that's where it will move. That's the first step of moving from, an online relationship to a real relationship. That's where you can take them off of Facebook or LinkedIn or an instant message and into a phone call or a Zoom call or actually meeting in person. And that's the magic right there, because that's when it turns into something else.
I remember it used to be, I just read an article on this. It used to be like 7 touches, seven,
Mhm.
seven,
Yeah.
getting in front of who you want to connect with,
Mhm.
whether it's a client,
Mhm.
a community, whatever it may be. Now it's something like 21. So to
Yeah.
have something like this and putting it on your website and
Mhm.
sending it out, it's just easier for them to anchor into who you are, what you do, and understand it in a way that they can see how you can support them, how you can nurture them,
Mhm.
and help them grow their business, grow their community, build their relationships.
And the way that I've always approached social media, and I've been in doing this for years, is not about the ads and the volume and the KPIs. It was about how you could take those touch points and turn
Mhm.
them into something where your audience is building a relationship with you before they get to know you, before they get to meet you, before you even know who they are. And this is how you create content. You create the content that builds the relationship.
Holy cow, 21. Good. Yes.
Yeah.
21. Touch it. Keep up those videos, Helen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look at them.
Yeah, she does a great. Oh God, her food looks so good. So you can, and that's the thing. Like you look at the pictures and you look at the videos, and you can actually taste it. You can smell it. You can. It invites people, and it makes them want to reach out. Believe it or not, we are at time. I can't believe it. Is there a question that I did not ask you that you would have asked yourself?
Um, yes, about being prepared.
Okay.
So, there are opportunities everywhere. They're just waiting for you. But if you're not prepared, you don't see them.
Mhm.
So spend a little time, get prepared, build your story around you and what your goals are, and let your story be that vehicle that takes you to where you want to go.
Love that summary. Thank you. Thank you. Where can people reach? Actually, I'm going to back up one quick second. What's one habit or boundary that has supported you to live and lead a sustainable life?
I changed my business. I blew it up. I was doing it all, and I was at the point where I was either going to need to hire a big team and work a lot of hours and invest, invest, invest. And I realized at this stage of my life, I do not want to do that. So I went through and I found this is one thing that I do for every client. And I was basically doing it for free. And I've turned it into a business, and it's been great so far.
What I heard was pause and make sure that the choices that you're making are in alignment with where you want to go.
Yes.
Helen says, thank you. And Suzanne, thanks so much for joining us, Suzanne.
Thank you, Suzanne.
See. Hey, thanks for writing the comment. You found it. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. And Helen. All right. Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So where can people reach out to you and connect with you, Donna? Where's the best?
CravottaMediaGroup.com. All the links to social are there. You can get the free download for gathering your story and connect with me. I would just love to meet new people and partner. I'm always looking to partner and meet new audiences and just grow in an organic way.
Donna is a master connector like no one I know. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. Donna, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Next week, September 14th, I'm going to be talking about boundaries, and no is not a 4-letter word. So I hope you join us again, September 14th, 10 a.m. East Coast, 7 a.m. for those Pacific Coast people. I hope to see you. Donna, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. And if you're watching the replay, please pop a hashtag replay in there. Have a great day, everyone.